Hey guys, it's Kat and I am back today to talk about my February favorites and fails. February, even though it was a short month and even though I did force myself to use a whole Morphe palette the majority of the month, I did play with a bit of makeup. There are some makeup that I really love and some makeup that I want to just let you guys know what I think about it. And I don't foresee myself doing a dedicated review, so I'm going to cover it today. And then there's a couple of products that I thought were really crap. So we're talking about all of them today. Now, I do have a lot of other makeup that I have sort of set aside for like first impressions videos. So if you saw my Instagram, you're like, I know you've got this or I know you've got that. Why aren't you talking about it? I haven't used it yet. That's going to be March's problem. So let's talk about the stuff that I have been using. Now, I want to start with some products that I've been really enjoying in my project pan. I think at the start of February and sort of late January, I was sort of really into just using the products that I've got in my project pan because I've got some products that I have been really enjoying. So the first one that I want to talk about, and this is actually going to spark, I think, a video that I will do in March. This is MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Soft and Gentle, one of my oldest highlighters. I'm wearing it today. I love it. I've always loved it, but it's one of those things when you're trying new stuff and you're like, no, I want to try a glow kit and I want to try this and I want to try that. You end up pushing this to the back of the drawer and leaving it. But I'm really glad that I put it in my project pan just to get more use out of it because I love it. I really, really, really enjoy it. It gives a beautiful glow to the skin. It's not too sparkly. It's not too metallic, but you can definitely see it. It's beautiful. And it's just a classic. It's a really beautiful color. It's not too cool. It's not too warm. I have also bought a few highlighters in February. I bought two that are quite gold. And even though they are beautiful, I find that this just suits more makeup looks because it's sort of like a neutral blank canvas. Doesn't sway the look warm or cool. It's just like skin tone and it's gorgeous. So yeah, I'm actually going to do a video using sort of old favorite products that I haven't used for a couple of years, but I still have them in my collection or I have backups of them in my collection. So I'm going to look back at products that I've really liked a couple of years ago and see what I think about them now, because this is definitely a good example of like one of those ones that it's a classic for a reason and I really love it. So I wanted to give it a shout out. The next thing in my project pan that I've been really enjoying, and it's not so much this foundation by itself because I don't really like this foundation. It's the Marc Jacobs Remarkable Foundation. My shade is Ivory. I think it's a little bit too light for me. But this is a foundation that is, it's very full coverage, and which is good. It's probably the most full coverage foundation I've ever used, but it's a finicky one. So you're supposed to use the smallest amount. It's got this really awkward applicator, which is like a ball on a stick, and you sort of dot it on your face, and then you sort of buff it in or blend it in. And sometimes it works fantastically and sometimes it looks amazing. Other times it just clings to dry patches that I don't even have or emphasizes texture and just doesn't look very good. Other times it wears off in oily patches. It's sort of one of those finicky foundations that sometimes it works well, other times it works badly, and half the time I don't want to take a risk with it. Also, if you apply too much, it is so full coverage. It's probably, yeah, like I said, the most full coverage foundation I've used. It blanks everything out and makes you look like you're wearing a mask. I found a way that I really enjoy it. Pretty much I just take a dot or two, so I might go dot, and then maybe dot, just a small amount. And then I will take the La Roche-Posay. This is the Uvidia XL BB cream. So it's SPF 50 plus, and it's just a BB cream that is a little bit too light for me. And I don't use it on a daily basis because I do have quite a lot of redness in my face, a lot of like rosacea happening and breakout scars, but combined, this is really, really great. So it's comfortable, it's long wearing, it's got the SPF that you want, but this just adds a little bit of coverage to it. And together, they're fantastic. So if you do have a foundation that you don't like if you absolutely hate it, get rid of it. But if there's one that you're like, okay, I like these features about it, but I don't like other features, try to find something else that will fill that void. The one thing I have to say is don't pre-mix them. So I wouldn't get a jar and squeeze this in and pour this in because that can actually like curdle and cause issues and separate. So it's best to mix it every time you use it, which is a pain, but if you get a good result and you're using up products that you otherwise wouldn't use, it's a great way to use up products. All right, I want to talk about what I've got on my eyes and what I've got in my brows. This is an old product, but it's the first time I've used one of these or had a chance to play with one of these. So I thought, look, I want to talk about it. It's by Melt and it's the Rust Stack. So these are really weird concepts and they never really appealed to me. The Melt stacks, I have bought Melt eyeshadow palettes and eyeshadow palettes for me. I'm like, look, they're my jam. I get them. I know how to store them. I know how to use them. I enjoy the format. Whereas what happened was I bought the Melt 27 palette and it arrived kind of really broken. So I contacted customer service and they said, we've got no more 27 palettes. So we will pick up one of the stacks and we will send you that out as a replacement. It's actually the second time. I've only ordered from Melt 3 times and it's the 3 times? Yeah. And it's the second time something's arrived broken. The first time was a lipstick and they happily sent out a replacement. And the second time was a palette. And I have seen the latest stack, which is like a blue one that like arrives shattered. So if that does happen, do contact them and they'll either send out a replacement or if it's out of stock, they will let you pick something else. They don't want to issue refunds for some reason, but it gave me the chance of trying this. So I don't hate it. And the customer service is really nice and polite. So there you go. But that's how I came across this stack. So like I said, it's the Rust one. And what it is you get 5 eyeshadows. The top thing is a mirror and you've got the first eyeshadow there. This is more like your sort of cream, yellow toned cream. These are really big. They contain 2.96 grams. So they're massive, like double the size of a regular eyeshadow. And what I also like is you can sort of just put this underneath as you go. So today on my eyes, I'm using this stack. I'm using every single shade in it. So this is the shade Classic. Then we have this peachy shade, which I really like. This is Antique. The one that I like the most and what I've got predominantly on my eyes today is this one here, which is Rubbish. I like the name because I say things are rubbish all the time. But I also love this sort of, camel brown color. I think it's a gorgeous color. Then we have Rust, which is what the stack is named after. And we have Rot, which is a dark brown, which is what I also have in my brows. So this is a matte stack and I actually find it really handy. It's a weird format, but what I do like about it is I just sort of put it in the corner of my makeup table. And if I'm reaching for something like a pigment or a predominantly shimmery eyeshadow palette, I just reach for this to pair with it. It's like a really, really good staple. If you like more of a warm toned browny sort of matte thing going on. Like I said, there is a cool tone brown in here, but all the rest of them are pretty warm, but they're not like oranges. They're actually really, really flattering colors and the formula is pretty good. It's not my favorite matte formula. It is nicely pigmented, but not amazingly pigmented. I did try to use the dark brown as a liner and I'll zoom in later and you can see that it just didn't really go on really boldly. And I do find these don't blend as well as some other eyeshadows, like matte eyeshadows, but it's a pretty handy little stack to have and the quality is nice. It's not phenomenal. I've heard so many people say once you go Melt eyeshadows, you'll never go back. I disagree. I would have liked to seen the Anastasia formula in here. I think their mattes are a little bit more blendable and pigmented, but I've been using this a lot, so I can't deny how handy it is. If you also want to see all the shades, you can do this thing where you sort of like stack it on itself, not on itself, but like, I don't know, build stairs. So if you really wanted to use it more like a palette, you can do this. It's a little bit unstable, but the magnets are relatively strong. But what is also cool about these is if you didn't want to buy the stack, because there's multiple stacks in the Melt range, you actually can just buy a one shade and it will come with a lid. So you can theoretically create your own stack or bundle a bunch of stacks together and have one big stack. But I actually, not the most amazing thing, but I've been reaching for it a lot and I can't deny that. Another palette that I want to talk about quickly is the Naked Reloaded palette from Urban Decay. Surprisingly, I wasn't going to buy this. We got this in PR. I did a first impressions over 5 days using all the shades over 5 looks. And surprisingly, I like it. I'm sort of sold on it. I like the slim packaging. I like that it's a lower price point. I like that it's sort of like a combination of sultry and naked heat. I actually quite like this palette. It's very easy to use. If you like the colors and you like Urban Decay formula, I would suggest checking this out. Is it groundbreaking? No. Is it the most amazing formula? No. It's Urban Decay formula. It's pretty sort of solid. It works. It's not mind-blowing, but I surprisingly like this more than I expected to. So yeah, I did do a review. I'll link it down below, but I like the looks it creates and I'm excited to use more of it. The only problem is that I'm moving into my next 1 month, one palette. So this is going to be put to the side for a minute, but I do really like it. It's nicely balanced. You can get full looks out of it and multiple different types of looks. I enjoyed it. What can I say? The last eyeshadow product that I want to talk about, and I do want to demonstrate this on my eyes a little bit, which is why I went all matte. So Linda Hallberg brought out the Metallic Mysteries 2 palette, and this is very expensive. Now, we were sent this at Beauty News in PR, so would I have spent the money on it? Probably not, because it is a high price tag. I think you can buy them on Beauty Bay for like, I don't know, 80 Australian dollars or something. But the quality is really nice. And if you really like the colors, I understand why you get it. Linda Hallberg, their quality always impresses me. It's just that they are at the higher price point. So if money's not an issue, then, you know, go for it. But I wanted to mention this because there is one particular shade in here that I really love, and I really want to demonstrate it. And it's this shade here. So this shade is Collision, and it's pretty much the most perfect topper shade I have ever experienced. Like, that's probably dramatic and it's probably wrong, but right now that's how I feel. So this is sort of a metallic palette. You have a brown. These do apply more intense if you've got a little bit of moisture on the brush. So if you spray your brush with a setting spray or something, it really does apply really foiled and beautifully. Otherwise, they blend nicely and they've got nice pigmentation. I just find these to be quite dark for a daily basis. So I did wear this all over the lid yesterday. I went to a Hanson concert and I wore this all over the lid with this tapped on the top, and it did create a very smoky look. Now, beautiful, performs nicely, really easy to apply, same as the green and same as the red, but you do have to like darker looks to really dig these, but they do perform really nicely, like beautiful quality. Linda Hallberg knows where it's at with quality. So there are the shades there. Once again, they just look like shimmers, but if you apply them a little bit wet, they're much more foiled and paint-like and really beautiful. I need to clean my hands now. But like I said, the shade that I think is absolutely glorious is Collision. This is sort of like a champagne glitter, but it applies in a really sort of twinkly, beautiful manner. So there's no base color. It's just a bunch of glitter, and it just works perfectly over any shade. Any shade, if you want to apply it on its own as just like a twinkle on the eye, you can do that. If you want to apply it over a dark shade to make like a starry look, you can do that. What I wanted to demonstrate today was putting it just a little bit on this matte look, so you can see it's just the most beautiful, twinkly, perfection, sparkly. I love it. I really enjoy it. So I do want to zoom in a second and apply that. But yeah, this palette is really bougie, and Linda Hallberg in general is very bougie of a brand, but at least you get the quality for your money, if that makes sense. I would prefer to put my money into Linda Hallberg than Pat McGrath. I think what Linda Hallberg does personally is a little bit more innovative. It's just as expensive almost, but the palettes are always smaller, so they're not as crazy expensive, but they're still really expensive. It's hard, but I like these. I think they're more interesting and more unique in my collection. So I do want to demonstrate that, and I will in a second, but I also want to demonstrate one of these, so I thought I'll zoom in and do it all at once. But I sometimes am really inspired by neons, and I think it was like in December I got JD Glow neon liners, and I really loved them. And then we were placing an order for SUVA Beauty, and I thought, chuck in some neon liners because I really want to play with their neon liner formula. They've got pinks and greens and different colors, but I picked up the orange and the yellow. So this is Dance Party and this is Acid Trip. Now, the great thing about these is that they are hard cake liners and you use water to activate them. So they don't dry out because they're already dry. They'll last you like forever. You can like apply them on the body as well. These are UV activated. So if you're under like a black light, it glows. I don't know, I like putting a hint of neon in looks, and I showed this on Instagram. People are like, how the hell are you going to use those? So I'll show you how I've sort of been using them. But one thing I think is cool about these as well is you can mix them. So for example, this shade Blue Steel, I've mixed it with this one to make like an acid green. So you don't need to buy all the shades because you can mix. I have also mixed this sort of neon orange shade with this purple, which is grape soda, and it created a really beautiful like red burgundy bright shade. Really, really pretty. So you can mix these together, which is fantastic. When I first tried these last year, I realized that you can't use Inglot Duraline to activate them. It just doesn't work. The product doesn't like activate and mix. But I've been looking for a way to sort of make these last a little bit longer because they are water activated, which means that if you have runny eyes, they can start like sort of bleeding a little bit. Also, I find that when these dry, like at the end of the day, because all the moisture has been dried out of them once you've applied them, they can crack a little bit and flake a little bit if you touch your face. So especially how I apply them, which I apply them near here, like that's an area of your eye that moves a lot. So it does sort of crack and flake off a little bit. It's not a big problem, but it is a thing that happens. So I have been looking for something else to activate these in a more sort of waterproof, budge-proof way. And I discovered that the ESUM, these are the Pro Mixing Medium. It's like a liquid that you can use to mix with pigments to make them into like paints and whatnot. This actually does activate these. So I've been using pretty much exclusively this ESUM Pro Mixing Medium to activate these. It works a treat. It doesn't make it completely waterproof and budge proof, but it does help. So I'm going to demonstrate these today. But before I do that, I do want to show this glitter. It's just a beautiful glitter. And once again, similar to the highlighter, it is sort of your neutral, not too cool, not too warm shade. So it just works on any shade at all. I'm just applying this with a very small brush. If you apply it wet, of course, it looks much more intense, but I just want to show you how it sort of transforms a look and just makes anything look twinkly and beautiful. I'm not even sure if you can see this in this lighting. It's very dark today. All right, so I'm not demonstrating it under like the best circumstances. I've got like a matte eyeshadow that's totally set the base and I'm just putting a small amount on. But you can see how it just turns a matte eye look into just a twinkly, beautiful look. And if you wanted to, you know, apply a little bit more, you can use your finger or like I said, apply it wet and it would just, you know, it just transforms a look into a really, really beautiful, sparkly look. I'm just sort of spreading that around. It's gorgeous. So you could pack this on a glitter glue or wet, but it's just like the most beautiful, sparkly topper ever. I also wanted to show that melt brown. You can see that it's not the most pigmented as a liner, but I tried. So that's that. But look at the twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. Now just to demonstrate this guy, how I sort of use it as like a pop of neon on a like brown boring look. So ESUM Mixing Medium. So I just put one drop in there and I just mix it around with a liner brush. This is actually a painting brush, like it's a craft painting brush. You can't see, but you mix it around until you get the consistency that you're after. And I'm just scraping off the edge because I want a small line. But all I pretty much do, and I prefer to do this before I do mascara because you'll see why, but I like to get under my lashes if possible. And I just do a bit of a line here, like that. And I do a bit of a line under my liner, or if I'm not wearing liner, sort of where the liner would start. It's best to start with a small amount and build it up because if it's too thick, it can crack a bit more. Uh-oh, see? Get on your mascara. So there you have it, a really sort of like basic, quick way to add some really interesting dimension to a look. It's not going to be for everyone, but I personally kind of like it. It looks really rad if you wear a black line, like a wing liner as well. on the top, and then just underneath the wing liner you put this neon sort of strip. Looks really cool. So yeah, that's how I have been wearing it. I've done it with a green as well. It's a little bit more weird, but it's kind of fun. So I don't often use glitter and neon liner together, but you can see how all of a sudden those little things have sort of transformed the look into something a little bit more fun. And they're sort of ways that I like to inject a bit of glitter or a bit of color into my look with, like if you're just doing a basic brown or a basic nude look, you can sort of add little elements. And that's, yeah, I really like these. I think they're fun, but I do definitely suggest using a mixing medium that mixes well with these instead of just water. You can do water, of course, but there's more chance that this sort of flakes off here, or if you get runny eyes, it's going to run a little bit. So yeah, that's a limitation of water activated liners, but they're fun to play with. And here's just an example of playing around with mixing. I've just mixed a bit of Freezy into this one. I did just use the same brush. You can use different brushes if you want to, but I created that color, which is rad. It's like a, I don't know, neon green. All right, I feel like this is going too long, so I'm gonna cut some products that I was going to talk about. I might talk about them next month if I'm still loving them, and I might talk about just 2 other things. They're little packs. So one is the new Ella Cosmetics. These are the mint green sponges. I have been using them. One is sort of drying, so it's a little bit more hydrated. One is a little bit more dry, so you can see the size difference. It goes much bigger. I love these sponges. I've been using the pink ones since last year, and they've now brought out mint ones. They're super, super, super soft, and they remind me a lot of Flower Beauty sponges that are really, really soft. These hold their shape a little bit better, and the shape is a better shape. You've got the flat edge, you've got the pointed bit, and I really, really dig them. They're an Australian brand, which I really appreciate. And I've been I replaced most of my sponges in my collection with these or the pink ones. But yeah, I like them. And the reason why I wanted to mention them is because it was really cool, because we have talked about them on Beauty News, and we've bought a few, we've been sent a couple, and we have been using them and loving them. And I think just when you use something and you love it so much, people are interested in trying them. But what I liked was when we were ordering some on sale the other week, I was looking at reviews, and like so many reviews are like, Kat and Haley from Beauty News recommended these and I love them, and everyone was saying such great things. So I really like it when we can introduce people to a new product that is awesome and that people really appreciate. Like for some reason I don't expect people to buy things on my recommendation, but it was just so bizarre seeing like so many people say great things. And so many people said that these are better than beauty blenders, which I totally agree with. They're great. So Beauty News, we do have a discount code. It's not an affiliate link, so we make no money. But if you wanted to get 10% off, I think it's BN10. So off the whole order. So there you go. The last thing I wanted to mention, and you would have seen these if you saw my last video, I did a lip swatch and swatch video of my whole collection of the Hourglass Confession lipsticks. They're just a little secret thing that I have like a little obsession over, and I thought, I don't know, I felt like swatching them and comparing them, and I thought I'd film it. But one thing I really like is their Valentine's Day duo. This was really annoying. It didn't come to Australia. I think it was quite a limited release. I think Haley picked these up off Cult Beauty, I think it was. So we had to get them internationally, which was annoying. But I really love them, and they're limited edition shades. This box is really cute, so you push them out and you get the 2 boxes with different lipsticks in them. And the 2 shades, they're very, very cute. They go together to make like a little phrase. So the first one is All of Me, Line, and then it's got Line, Loves All of You. So they're very, very sweet. It's a really cute pack, but I like them because I like the lipstick shades and the formula. Of course, I love the formula. But these do have limited edition packaging as well. So they're limited edition shades with different packaging. The packaging isn't that revolutionary. It's just like got a heart after the Hourglass instead of the normal ones that don't. So that's how you can tell that they're the limited edition Valentine's ones. But the one I'm wearing today is Loves All of You. So it is this really beautiful sort of, it's sort of like a burnt orange. Yeah, it's sort of like a muted burnt orangey red. In person, I think it looks more orange than it does on camera, but it's a really, really beautiful shade, and it really nice pigmentation, applies really nicely. And the other one's really nice as well. This is one that I normally wouldn't buy, so I was kind of happy that it forced me to buy a shade like this because it's actually a really pretty shade. This is All of Me. and it's like a corally pink. So it definitely is a pink, but it's more of a warm tone pink. So it's got a little bit of like corally-ness in it. Whereas I usually, if I'm going to wear a pink, I'll often wear a brighter pink. And I often like it to be slightly more cool toned. So these sort of corally shades are not really something I normally buy, but it's actually a really beautiful shade and it's very flattering. It's a nice sort of summery, springtime look. So I really like these. I like the duo. I'm glad we spent a whole shit ton of money buying it, but you're expensive. Okay, that's going to be it for favorites, but let's talk about fails. The first one is like the shittest fail. So MAC brought out their spring collection, which was the Boom Boom Bloom collection, and they brought out a highlight powder, which I'll put photos on the screen of what it looked like when people have sort of sneak peeked it and shown it, and also what the marketing photos look like, because it gives you the impression that it's a shimmery highlighter, like a pink shimmery highlighter. Also on the website, nowhere does it say that it's not a shimmery highlighter, and it's actually not. It's got an overspray over it, and underneath it's just a matte chalky pink powder, which is crap. So there's not much you can do with this. It's very sort of very powdery, very sort of thick, very pigmented for a pink white powder, and the ingredients are pretty much like, I don't know, talc and cornstarch and dimethicone. Like, they're not great products, very, very cheap products. So it's not a good product. I've tried to use this under my eyes. I've tried to use it as a setting powder. We can't return it because we got it from Selfridges. I'm going to have to use it some way. I don't know, but it is not nice. Even if you had very fair skin, you can't really use this to set your makeup because it gives you a pink tinge. It's not a blush because it's not a blush. It'd be a blush on a couple of people, but even then it'll look like a chalky, powdery blush. It's just the most disappointing product ever for a highlight powder, and that's marketed like a highlighter. It is not. It is a piece of shit. So MAC really fucked up with this one. And we did a video sort of figuring that out. Like, I'll link it down below because you can see the moment where we scrape away the really beautiful overspray. A few people ask us what oversprays are, and it's just essentially them spraying some pigment or paint over the top to make it look better than it does. Some brands do it to like put a design on it. Other brands do it just to make it look better, which... yeah, false advertising in my opinion. The next thing I really didn't like this month is a foundation from Becca. I did do a foundation wear test. This is the Ultimate Coverage 24-Hour Foundation, and my shade is Vanilla. Now, these both do have similar sort of downfalls. So really full coverage, sometimes to a fault. You have to be careful how much you apply, otherwise you look like a cake face. They also can both sort of settle in pores and cling to like textured areas. They both don't look super flattering and flawless on the skin. They both take a bit to sort of buff in and get looking good. And they both can break down after a few hours with oil. But the reason why I prefer this over this is because this transfers like there's no tomorrow. It transfers like nobody's business. I wore it for the first time at a funeral. Don't do that. And it was a hot day. My makeup was breaking down and because it's high coverage, it was breaking down and looking like I'm wearing a mask. And then the problem was, because it does transfer, if you go to give someone a hug, especially at a funeral, and they're wearing a black dress or a black jacket, you get that little like mark on their shoulder and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it's not coming off. So this is a smeary motherfucker. I can't handle it. It's one of those foundations that you touch your face. Like, you might just go like this and you see finger marks. Like, it actually comes off your face. So I don't like this. It's not a good foundation. I would consider returning it, but I bought it back in January and I feel like it's too late to do that. But what I might do after I finish this in my project pan, I'm going to try to find more budge-proof foundations to mix with this, because I think it's got some good redeeming qualities, like nice coverage, and that's about it. But I just feel like it needs help because it's not a good foundation. So that is my second fail. I do also want to mention these aren't fails, but I thought while I'm talking about foundations, I recently bought this from Sephora. It came to Australia only the other week. So this is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. So far, I'm really liking this. So I'm going to do a wear test on this. I'm also going to do a wear test on the new Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Liquid Foundation. So both of these recently came to Australia and I've got them. So I want to try them. I have been using them because I like to try foundations in different sort of environments and over different days before I do a wear test, because if the wear test shows unusual results, like it's unusually good that day or unusually bad, at least I can sort of go, look, under other circumstances, this is how it applies and this is how it wears and this is what I think about it. So I'm going to try these more for a couple of weeks and then I will do wear tests on both of them. So these are coming up. But these, so far, on first impressions, so much better than the Becca one. The Becca one is trash compared to this. All right, guys, those are my favorites and fails for February. If you wanted to see the names of the products I mentioned, I'll have them listed in the description box, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.